Hello, Taylor here from the Online Seller Circle, and a big welcome. Within this growth workshop, we're going to be talking all about transformational virtual assistant roles. So specifically what they can do for you and what you need to do in order to recruit first for the actual right role that you're looking for, and also the responsibilities of those individuals as well. So in terms of your virtual assistants, what are they? In hours and terms, they are virtual assistants that are going to work remotely for you on your Amazon business, and they can either be employed full-time or part-time. It absolutely depends on the growth rate of your business, so where you are right now, what your aims and objectives are, what your goals are. You can also take them on a casual basis if you wish. So it does vary in terms of the type of contract that you offer them as to kind of what they're going to be doing. So they could be admin based on an hourly rate. They could be a review and purchaser, for example, on an hourly rate as well. They could be part of the sourcing team, which would be a slightly different contract type. So remember, you're wanting to onboard a transformational team members that are not transactional ones that are going to be team players for you, that are going to inspire those VAs that come on board at a later date as you continue to grow the business and you continue to grow your team. So this is what we want. We want team players. We want those that are going to buy into the culture that you're going, the company culture, the values that you have derived, what the company's about, the mission, the aim, the vision that you've got for that company as well. Now, for this particular workshop, we're going to focus obviously on the experience that I've had over the years in terms of growing my team and utilizing VAs within the method of online arbitrage. Because they're remote workers, unfortunately, you can't get them to actually nip to the shops and purchase the stock for you. So it's all about how do you use them for the method of online arbitrage and how you can do the same. Now, the first question I've got for you is a virtual assistant right for you? Where are you right now in your business? Are you doing absolutely everything? Have you got the budget for a virtual assistant? Because really, if you continue doing everything, you will wear yourself out. You will become overwhelmed, and a virtual assistant is the next step to help you gain that growth that you need. Now, I believe that everyone will benefit from building a team, from taking on their first VA to then scaling that to whatever size business that you want. You know, what is your ultimate vision? Do you want this to be £1 million business? Do you want this to be a £10 million business? Because they're big numbers, and you might think that they're big numbers, but actually you can reach that £1 million very quickly by bringing on board transformational VAs that can help you go from working full-time in your business doing absolutely everything to actually just doing a few hours every day, or even less than that. It ultimately depends on what your choice is and what you want to achieve. Now, your time is valuable. You've got to remember that, and you shouldn't be spending it on administrational tasks that are repetitive, that are mundane. Those tasks are the ones that you can outsource. Now, that being said, it can be time consuming to find a virtual assistant, the right virtual assistant for the role, and for the right virtual assistant to actually slot and fit in to your company, to your business. So finding one, once you do that, is an absolute massive benefit and a blessing, because you go through that recruitment process yourself, and if you can nail how to do that from start to finish, it's then a simple case of rinse and repeating that for the next role that you need to do. So it can be time well spent, but it isn't easy. It can be quite time consuming to find the right person. So what can a virtual assistant do for you in your business? And I would suggest outsourcing, like I said, the mundane tasks first, because that's going to free up your time quickly. It's going to free up your time so that you can then focus on the next big task in hand. And probably those tasks or those actions that actually are being swept under the carpet and aren't being done, which perhaps might be the reason why you're not scaling as quickly as you'd like to. Perhaps might be because you've got account issues that you've just got not enough time or hours in the day in order to complete them. but the more that you can become productive and focus on those growth tasks, those ones that are going to generate more income for your business, that is ultimately going to help you scale. So think about what you could do with an extra VA on board or 2 VAs on board, specifically working in different sectors of the business. And suddenly, very quickly, you can systemize and organize those VAs in helping you to take on more management, empowering them to help you develop the processes within each of those sectors and the roles that they're working on, and obviously ultimately give you more time back every single week. Now, one effective way for you to decide on the tasks to outsource to a virtual assistant is to record what you're doing over a week or 2 weeks. 2 weeks is probably better for you to review, but you could start with a week. Time tracking every single day and tracking everything you do personally and also business related. That's really important, because it's not just about the time that you spend on your business, because at the moment you might only be spending 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a day on the business, depending on whether you're working in a job or you're working on another business at the moment. But it's really important to really track your time across the board. So how much time are you spending with family? How much time are you spending watching TV? How much time are you spending in the business, on this business? And suddenly, over the course of a week to 2 weeks of you tracking your time, you will be able to see very clearly the areas where you're wasting your time and the areas that you need to focus on more, and the areas that you actually need to outsource. Now, there are 3 recommendations in terms of time tracking. So if you're a techie geek or you want to do it through software, you've got Hubstaff, you've also got Clockify, or you've got the free version, which is Google Sheets or an Excel document. Now, time tracking apps are fairly inexpensive, and when you actually do start to build your team and bring on virtual assistants, you are going to need some sort of time tracking software such as Hubstaff. Hubstaff is a brilliant one, and it's one that I use in my Amazon business. There's also Clockify. That's great too, but there's more limitations to Clockify than what you actually get for Hubstaff. And actually, the cost of them are fairly similar. I think there's a pound or so in difference. So Hubstaff being slightly more expensive than Clockify. But to start with, if you haven't got any virtual assistants and you want to get the ball rolling and you want to start time tracking yourself, I would thoroughly recommend that you use Google Sheets or an Excel document. Google Sheets is always better because you're going to need to be using remote-based software and Google Docs and Google Sheets and a Google Drive when you grow your team. So get into the habit, if you aren't already, and start using Google Sheets, which is fantastic. Now, I wanted to give you an example. So here's an example of a time tracker in Google Sheets. And it's really basic, really simple to set up, and you can take a screenshot of this and then build your own one later on. Now, what you want to do is set it up so that you've got a date column, you've got a start time and end time. You can then create a column that calculates the minutes, taking basically from the start and the end time. And then you also need a column for the task name. So you're going to specifically specify what it is that you were doing. You could also add a further column if you're working across multiple different businesses, or so you can tag it as family, you can tag it as business, you can tag it as pleasure, you can tag it as whatever it is that you do on a daily basis. And over the days that you start tracking your time, you'll learn and you'll understand what you need to tag. It's really important to tag, and it's really important to make sure that you populate all of these columns every single day as you're doing it, as you're in front of your laptop or your desktop, so that you get a real true indication of where your time's being spent. Now, after the week to 2 weeks of your time tracking sessions, what you want to do is you want to review where you've spent the most amount of time, because it's those tasks, and you want to find the ones that are easy to do, you've spent the most amount of time, and the easiest ones to outsource. And when I say outsource, there's a little bit of work that's going to be needed, because if you're going to outsource to a virtual assistant, You want to identify how to do those tasks as well. So it might be that during your time tracking week or 2 week session, that when you're doing those tasks, you actually want to create a video whilst you're doing it that explains how to actually carry out that task, because that video that you create via Loom or you create via Screencast-O-Matic can then be saved in that time tracking app. So you can create another column, pop that link in, so that actually then when you bring on board a virtual assistant, you've got a video ready and raring to go that they can then watch and they can then follow and complete the exact same steps that you've done. So we're talking about repetitive tasks here, time consuming tasks that are actually really easy to systemize and outsource to individuals. And as you start to do that and you populate more videos and you bring on your first VA to then take on a sector of the business, you've almost got a fully fledged documentation or a sheet there ready for them to carry out those tasks for you. So in my online arbitrage business, I wanted to review some of the tasks across all the sectors that my VAs are doing on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis, and give you really a breakdown, an indication of what it is that you can look at to see whether or not you're doing this in your business at the moment, and if you're not, what you need to implement, and if you are doing it, to give you an overview of those tasks that you can actually outsource. Now, the biggest amount of time that's spent in my team is product sourcing. So we're talking about manual sourcing, replenishments, perhaps you're using also software as well to source. Now, this is for new product leads and also managing the replenishment side of the business. So you might have a sourcing VA, or you might want a sourcing VA to come on board, source new leads for you, but also potentially look at managing the replenishment side. So checking the products that you've purchased that you're selling and you may be close to selling out of, and checking to see whether or not they can still get stock from the same supplier, or perhaps another supplier at a cheaper rate. So that's the replenishment process in a nutshell. However, I would say that this is probably the most difficult task to train a VA if you're going to do it on your own without any support from the Online Seller Circle. And also, it is one of the easiest to do if you're using sourcing software. So for example, if you're using sourcing software or you're using a sourcing service like FBA Deal Source, and you just wanted an individual to come on board and shortlist those deals for you to then purchase, that would probably be the easiest solution to start with. Manually sourcing, you've got to go into a bit more detail, and like I said, if you're doing it on your own, you've then got to actually have to create all of the training content to be able to train that VA up to become an expert and then take that on from you. But as you know, we have some great training, and if you're part of our academy, you can get access to the VA Scale Up Challenge, which gives you all of the information, all the content in order to recruit, train, and then onboard and manage a VA within this area, which is obviously claimed back lots of hours from those that have gone through that process and have now got fantastic sourcing VAs working for them and sourcing products every single day. So whatever's right for you, but this is in a nutshell what that product sourcing VA is going to be doing. What about customer service? Because there is a bit of customer service that's required within an Amazon business, even though Amazon do say they do the majority of the customer service. As we know, there is still a bit that needs to be done. Now, customer service, I don't really have my VA doing a lot or spending a lot of time on the customer service, purely because I don't find that it actually takes a lot of time to complete those tasks, and most of the issues, as I said, are handled by Amazon, which fulfills 90% of our stock through FBA and the orders that come in. Therefore, I wouldn't set necessarily this as a priority for your first VA if you've not got one at all to handle, because this is something you could do in the meantime until you take on a senior VA that could then do these tasks. So we're talking about messages, so customer messages coming in, perhaps invoicing, in terms of customers requesting invoices if you're not VAT registered and using the Amazon VAT service to do that for you, and perhaps third-party messages coming in, so from suppliers, for example, also from a prep centre if you're utilising a prep centre to fulfil your goods into the Amazon fulfilment centres. So we use a business admin VA, which is classified as a senior VA, to actually manage part of this, and they do a lot of other things as well, which I'll come on to. But really, you could also have someone that is dealing with incoming emails. I don't know about you, I've got 7 different email accounts, and I very quickly learned that I needed to outsource all of those inboxes, because I was spending around about 2.5 hours a day literally just going through all the emails that I was receiving from those accounts, which was just a waste of my time, and the majority of it was there was so much spam coming in there that flicking through and deleting on a daily basis, that's how long it was taking me. So that's definitely something that you can have a look at, and hopefully if you've got email accounts, that will come up as an indicator on your time tracker when you go through and track your time in your session over that 1 to 2 week period. So these are known as repetitive tasks. These are the ones that once you've set up a set of templates in terms of, you know, key responses, generic responses that you would need, and then the process of when something comes in, how to deal with it, they actually can be very easily and quickly outsourced to an individual. What about the review and purchasing? So in my opinion, once you've got yourself a sourcing VA or a couple of sourcing VAs, or you're utilising services that bring in enough deals on a daily basis that perhaps doesn't warrant you actually investing time into onboarding a sourcing VA, the most important thing next to outsource after that is the review and purchasing. Now, this is the principle and the process behind reviewing all of the deal channels that you've got, all the flow of deals that are coming into the business on a daily basis. And they could also take on the responsibility then of managing the deal channels, the services, the software, and also the sourcing VAs that you have got working in your business if you have them. And what they're doing is they're then pulling all of that information into one, let's say, spreadsheet, and they're then reviewing them and shortlisting those deals against some refined purchasing criteria that you've set. So they act almost as another control measure. You've got your deal channels that are obviously providing with deals in line with certain criteria that you set, or perhaps if it's a service, the service guarantees. But the likelihood of you having a budget to purchase hundreds of units and hundreds of product lines on a daily basis, if you're first starting out or you're within your first 12 months, is probably going to be quite slim. Therefore, you want to be more particular and shortlist those deals down even further, and make sure that anything that might be missed, where there's mismatches or restricted products within that flow of deals coming in, is removed. So, and that takes time. It takes time to review and shortlist deals on a daily basis. So we're talking all deal channels, shortlisting. Once they've shortlisted the deals, what they can then look to do is they can start to create the baskets for the orders that you want to place with each supplier online for you. So this is basically clicking through and adding those products to the basket, and adding products and unit quantities to the basket so that they are able to waiver any delivery charge. So the less amount of money you're spending on delivery, obviously the more profit that you're going to make at the back end. So every penny counts. But also not just that, creating baskets and cashback, making sure that they then go ahead and they purchase those goods for you on a daily basis, on a consistently, Monday through to Friday, whatever days of the week they're working. Because I'm sure that there are many things that you are busy with on a daily basis, and as you probably know, if you purchase stock on a Monday and then you don't do anything till the Friday, you've got your stock going into your prep centre or coming home that you've then got to prep, and something happens and I don't know, an emergency takes place, and you then don't end up reviewing and purchasing deals maybe till Friday or Saturday. That's almost another week gone where you're not sending stuff in, and that you need to be consistent and having goods going in on a daily basis into that flow, so that they reach wherever they're being prepped. They're being prepped quickly, there's a quick turnaround, and then they're being fed into the Amazon fulfillment centers so that they can go live for the customers. If you can get the consistency there of having someone do this for you, so that they're reviewing and purchasing every single day, placing those orders, gaining cash back for you at the same time, it's your business is going to grow. Absolutely guarantee that if you follow this process. Now, they could also list for you, and they could also deal with your replenishments as well, and that's dependent on whether you want them to do it or you want your sourcing VA to do it. Now, one important thing I just want to note here is that, and this is what I suggest, that when you take on your reviewing and purchasing VA, don't just hand over your credit card and say, here you go, right from day one. You're going to need to get them to work with you over the period of, let's say, a 4 to 5 week basis, whereby you are teaching them the way that you need them to do that role. And what I mean by that is they will need to become accustomed to the refined criteria that you want them to purchase against, and the aims and the goals that you want them to achieve. You want them to make sure, and you need them to be sure, that the deals that they're going to shortlist for you are definitely going to sell. They definitely meet the profit margin. They definitely provide the ROI. The historic data shows that they are great products, and that is the amount of quantity that you need to purchase or they recommend for you. So it's a surefire way over that 4 to 5 week period of you bringing them in and you introducing them to the deal channels that you've got available, getting them to become quicker and more confident in their analysis and their shortlisting. Then from there, what you can then do is you can start to get them to provide their input as to how many units, so the quantity of each product that they have shortlisted that they think should be purchased. And it's a process of kind of feedback. So review, feedback, teach them, and they then move on to the next stage. Once they've got to the stage where they can review a deal in 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and they know from the information that they are analysing, how many units they should be purchasing for you, it's then where you can start to introduce slowly, giving them a budget on a daily basis to work towards, to go ahead and then utilise your payment gateways to place those orders. They can then start liaising with the prep centre if you're using one, to add those details of the products that they've purchased, so that the prep centre knows that they're due to be received. Or if you're still prepping the goods yourself, they would need to communicate with you on that. And it's a simple case of they will manage that purchasing sheet for you 100%. So over that 4 to 5 week period, this is you helping them to grow and becoming accustomed to the way and the system and the processes that you want them to follow, but also an opportunity for them to feed back to you and say, hey, the way we're doing this is great, it works, but there's a more efficient way that I think we can do this. And there's lots of different ways that you can kind of make tweaks, and it's all about you asking for their feedback, because at the end of the day, once they take over this process from you, it's going to become a little bit alien over the months and the years that they continue to do it for you. They're going to be the expert that you once were, and actually in them doing it every single day for you, Monday through to Friday, whenever they're working, they're going to find ways where they can actually time save. So it's all about making sure, whatever role that your VA is working in, that you are offering them the opportunity to provide you with feedback, so that they can then help you make that process more efficient, more effective, and everyone wins. Now, one thing I wanted to say is, in addition to these areas or these tasks that you can outsource to a reviewing purchaser, 2 key points are about cashback. It's not just about them actually making sure they capitalize on all the different cashback sites that you've got available, so that you can obviously compound that saving over time with the orders they're placing. So that's one thing. But also with certain cashback sites, as you grow your orders and you grow the amount of money that you're spending on orders and you're placing online on a daily basis through this VA, they could also take on the management of the cashback sites. And what I mean by that is all the loyalty points that you are raking up, all of the money off, all of the discount vouchers, for example, all of the money that you are increasing within your pot, that you might need to do a claim every month, or you might want to do a claim every week. It depends on the cashback side. So complete savings, for example, you are able to receive a monthly bonus if you upload an invoice in line with a purchase that you've made for that 30-day period. And whilst it's one task a month, it's still a task that could be outsourced. And because it's under the remit of review and purchasing, and because that individual is doing that process, it makes sense for them to then actually manage the cashback sites, and ensuring that any rebates or claims that need to be filed are done on time, but also potentially managing, therefore, at the end of every month, checking what the total is, so that you can see over the course of every single month throughout the year how much saving that you had at each site or within each cashback site and service you're using, so that you can see a clear picture of how much you've actually saved and what's gone back into the business in terms of helping that grow. So what you've reinvested back in, and perhaps maybe what you've taken out as a little cheeky win for you to do whatever you want with. So that's just something that you can look to get this virtual assistant to do, not only purchasing and reviewing, but also managing the cashback sites for you. Now, one thing I want to say is refrain from cross-task contamination. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very important to ensure that you don't cross over too many tasks to the VA or the role of VA, which those tasks are tagged to completely different departments or sectors within the business. And that's why I call it cross-task contamination. So remember, if you're taking on a purchasing and review VA, they are there to review deals. They are there to potentially manage the sourcing team over time. They are there to tell you whether or not the deal channel that they are using or service that you are using and paying for is working or not. They are there to shortlist and create those baskets and purchase those deals, perhaps also maybe listing products as well to inventory, and that's up to you. They need to do that consistently every single day of the week. It's so important they do that in order to gain growth for you and the business. Any other tasks that you give them, for example, can you reconcile my inventory today? I need some reimbursements that I can't do because I'm out. I need you to process some reimbursements through STK. Those tasks are more about business admin, and that is a role that potentially, if you're going to start with this one as the senior base, that you need to take on and you need to manage. If you start to pile on more tasks that are defined for another role to your review and purchasing senior VA, you will start to see a delay in the purchases that are being placed. You will start to see a delay in your sales. You'll start to probably see a decline in your sales if they're not consistently purchasing these products and getting them in for the customers to buy. So you'll probably wonder, if you're doing that already, perhaps that's having an impact on your sales and you don't even know that that's happening. If you make sure that you don't cross-task contaminate your VA with unnecessary tasks that don't sit within their role and their responsibility, and they can seriously focus on those core areas they are responsible for, which are growth areas, you will definitely notice a difference in your sales and in the overall productivity of your member of staff as well. Now, what about inventory and administration? Now, inventory administration, we're talking about business account health, inventory management, so inventory health reimbursements that I just referenced, prep reconciliation, and also inventory adjustments, to name a few. Now, this is a key role and something, like I said to you, that you could take on up until the point then when you've grown the business to a certain size where you can actually then have a budget to take on an additional VA, a senior partner, to then do this for you. Now, it's a very important task and a very important role to outsource to, purely because, and I find it quite simple to do this one, because again, a bit like the customer service tasks, they are very repetitive. The process to complete them is near enough exactly the same. The trigger and the outcome is the same, and the process to achieve from the trigger to the outcome, to resolving it, is exactly the same. So once you've documented it once, it's very easy, therefore, then for that individual to watch the video or review the operations manual, whatever you've created, to then follow that when it's due on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, and so on. Now, that's why it's considered the most simplest, because they're not analysing data that varies over time. They're not looking at market trends of products, and this one is easy. And some business owners tend to actually want to outsource this first, and that's fine, because they like doing the reviewing and purchasing. So it's all about looking at your time tracker and seeing what your strengths are, what you love doing, but trying to do those tasks that you love doing, that aren't taking up too much of your time. It's the repetitive, long-winded ones that you potentially need to outsource. So make sure that you start to take note of what you are doing in line with this role on a daily basis. What you're doing now, what you need to do, what you need to stop doing, what you need to do more of. Because it's very important to make sure that you look after your inventory health. It's really important to make sure that the products you're buying are selling. So in terms of that, we're also talking about repricing and pricing strategy, and when to know when to drop a price or when to hold out on a price. And this is, again, a process that needs to be systemized and needs to be built into the business. As a result of you taking on a business admin, this would be potentially the final stage where you've suddenly got so much more time to really invest into those individuals that are now working in the sourcing department, that are working in the review and purchasing department, and that are working in the inventory and admin department, and you're helping them grow, you're helping them and you're performance managing them to become better, and to refine those processes that were originally set up for them to follow. So which role would you want to, or would you like to outsource first? Just remember that after taking on a sourcing VA, if that's the where you're going to start, to review your own weekly time tracker that I suggested earlier, and also look at the likes and dislikes to actually determine which role is actually key, senior role is actually key to outsource next, because if it's going to be the purchase and review assistant, or it's going to be the inventory admin, you need to decide that. No one else can tell you that. We can obviously give you advice if we know a bit more about your business and where you are right now, but you will effectively need to make that decision of where you grow and where you start. And what needs to be then done is a set of actions in order to get the ball rolling, and work on the processes, so that when you bring that person on board, they've got a set of tasks, daily, weekly, monthly, etc., using a CRM or a project management software, that they know when it should be done, how it should be done, how long it should take, and they've obviously got the steps and the video assigned to that as well. And we've got a great Asana course available that teaches you not only how to create and set up your Asana workspace effectively, but to how to manage it from your perspective, and also a virtual assistant's perspective as well, which is really important. And it's a fantastic free tool that you can utilize that really saves you a lot of time, and it will make you so much more organized in your business. So you'll be able to have an overview of how the operations are performing within each sector on a daily basis as well. Now, growing your team is not an easy task, I must admit. It will take time and a little bit of investment, but the rewards will far outweigh the time it takes to set up. I've gone from working kind of 50 hours a week initially in my Amazon business to an average of an hour and a half a day, and that's maybe because I actually like working still on the business, or working still in the business as well at times. I like checking what's going on, what things are happening, and you will too, because it's your business, it's your baby. You want to do as much as you can, as much as possible, to grow it, because you've invested time already into it, and that's the right thing to do. But we also want to make sure that you're scaling productively and systematically, so that you're not doing everything yourself on a daily basis, because there is a limit, there's a ceiling to what you can scale if you continue to do it that way. And you can get there too. You can get your hours down, right down on a daily basis if you follow these steps. Gain more time back, and also feel a sense of achievement knowing that your company is ticking over nicely like clockwork, because you've got a team operating it for you. Now, if you didn't already know, we've teamed up with and partnered with Global VA Solutions, who are online specialists, recruitment specialists, who've got a vast amount of experience with virtual assistants, and predominantly in the Philippines. And what they do is something unique and different. They are able to profile and value match virtual assistants with business owners for specific roles within the e-commerce industry. They cover a wide number of business industries, but the e-commerce industry being one that they specialize in. And they're finding winning VAs who fit well within the company. So making sure that the values are aligned with them and the company, making sure their profile matched to the role they're going to be taking on, and making sure that they together will provide an exceptional service to the client, to their manager that they're onboarded with as well. Now, not only do they offer core service solutions that provide fully managed recruitment services, but they also offer onboarding experience and packages as well, where they'll not only recruit the expert VA for the role and train them advanced specific to their role and in core business solution training, but they will also go as far as onboarding them into your Asana workspace, which you would be using as a project management software to manage your team and manage yourself, which is fantastic. And we're really excited to be working with them. So if you'd like to learn more, you can visit www.globalvasolutions.com. and they will be able to assist you with any questions or queries that you have. Now that we've defined the roles and responsibilities a lot more, which role are you going to focus on first? So it's a big question. Think about that, where you are right now in your business. What are you doing? Probably don't make that decision until you've gone through that process and you've created your time tracking sheet, or you've signed up to the time tracking software that I recommended earlier, and you get started tracking your time to see where you are spending it the most. So let me know if you have any questions at all. Feel free to reach out to me or the OSC team, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.